Tom, we got to start with Hugh Freeze. I thought we were just going to go straight to, the game itself, but instead, Hugh Freeze wanted to talk about how Arkansas and Auburn, if they played again, Auburn would win the remaining 9 games. What did you make of Coach's comments, and is there anything we could compare this to as we welcome you in?
Yeah, good morning. Always a pleasure. What's going on, Hugh? I want to like Hugh Freeze because I like his accent. It's very Southern and it's just folksy and like that. But I didn't like the comment because you played them at home, and if you played them 9 more times on neutral sites or wherever, I think Arkansas would win 6 or 7 of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And look, the guys on the ESPN game day panel, Nick Sabin, Desmond Howard. We were listening to this as we were driving to Auburn, and they all picked Arkansas to win the game. So I don't know where Hugh Freeze is getting off saying that they'd win 9 out of 10, maybe to fire up his fan base. But it's, obviously Arkansas is going to hear that, much like they heard him after last year's game say he thought they could have scored on every possession. It's motivation, man.
Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports. You mentioned Coach Sabin. Coach Sabin, if you've listened to College Game Day, Tom, has said some positive things, not just about Bobby Petrino, but Talon Green. I think he's mentioned 2 or 3 times he wants to watch this kid. They win this weekend. Game day's coming. What have you thought about Coach Sabin, not necessarily an infatuation with Coach Petrino, but the positive things he said about Talon Green thus far?
I haven't heard everything he said on game day so far, but look, he's an astute observer. He knows the game. And I don't think he's not afraid to voice opinions. Now, he has a lot of his disciples out in the industry now, and he wants to pick them. I mean, I think during last week's picks, he leaned towards some of his former guys, but he's got so many, they're matching up against each other. The first one, he wanted to pick Georgia Tech to beat Florida State in Ireland, and he almost did. And then the nest guy, Seamus, he did pick Georgia Tech, and I was thinking along those same lines, because of, the way Georgia Tech played. But anyway, he's just an astute observer of the game, and obviously Green has a lot of upside. But we're seeing there's so much on his plate in the Petrino offense. I've had people who know Petrino pretty well tell me that, like, if this was year 2 with the same kind of offensive line and Green, that they're understanding of each other. The calls at the line, picking up blitzes, and all these things that they're struggling with, would be so much better. And Talon gets them out of some of those free blitzer situations and makes plays happen. But there's also been a number of sacks that have pushed their field goal distance. You think twice against Oklahoma State, once against Auburn, third down sacks pushed their field goal distance back, and they missed 3 field goals doing that. So they're a work in progress. They're improving, but you can see that if there was a little more seamless communication, the route running and Talon's timing on it, they're doing really well in total offense. They could be way up there.
We're talking with Tom Murphy. If I can talk, we're talking with Tom Murphy, courtesy of our friends at Arkansas Beef Council. Tom, you mentioned the kicking situation. I know that some of those instances did get pushed back for longer field goal. Ramsey goes 1 for 2 this weekend. They elect not to kick at the end of the game, which I'm still I still don't know why. But we've seen this game before come down to kicks, and most of the time they've gone against Arkansas. If you're an Arkansas fan, if you're Sam Pittman or Scott Bowden, how confident are you in the kicking game heading into this weekend?
Well, not very confident. I mean, when Kyle Ramsey's making about half of his 43 to 48 yards.
It's literally a coin flip, Tom. You flip a coin, and he's either going to miss or make it. That's what it is.
It really is. And I'll give him this, though. The one of the misses against Oklahoma State and the first miss against Auburn went just to the right. He just pushed them a little bit, and they were right outside the goalpost. Now, so that's correctable, but yes, we're used to great success in the kicking game with Cam Little. And how ironic is it that one of his big misses was the one against A&M 2 years ago that, probably would have won the game.
Tom, I think one of the biggest stories in the first 4 games is not necessarily a positive one, but it's the one fans have latched onto. It's Luke Hass and why he got the football. And Coach Petrino Coach Pittman kind of went into it yesterday. They need him for blocking purposes. And once the offensive line, if it does get shored up, they're going to find him more. Is that something that is going to get shored up by season's end, or is he going to just be primarily used as a pass and run blocker the remaining 8 games?
Well, I mean, we already know that a Bobby Petrino offense is going to feature tight ends, and we've seen that in action before. And he's been the target on several routes. But there's been so much early pressure on Green that he's having to freelance, and he's not able to make the connection sometimes. So I would just say that, and the same logic applies to, get Broden the ball more. Ty Washington, I think he's a fantastic tight end.
Yeah.
So there's numerous guys who they want to get more targets, and they're targeting Broden, but they just haven't made that connection. I mean, they're inches off, or he's had a drop or two, but you can't quit doing it. And then also resulted in one of the biggest plays of the game, the pass interference against Auburn that extended that touchdown drive that they turned into a 6-minute and 15-second deal.
I mean, from a measurable standpoint, the guy's 6'7", runs like a 4.4, but leads Arkansas in drops this year. And he has we saw him make plays in practice, Tom, leading up to the season. I mean, you saw the highlights. You occasionally saw a clip here and there. I wonder why that hasn't translated to this year under Coach Petrino.
Well, I mean, it's hard to exactly put your finger on, but it's all about timing. And you know that they keep repping that in practice, the timing on the deep throws, the timing on other routes. And but when it really comes down to it, Armstrong has been open and available more often.
Yep.
But they've got to keep throwing at brother. I mean, look, Satone had a big play. Can you imagine the concentration it took to be hit, in your midsection and catch that touchdown pass the other day, which I would argue was probably the biggest play of the game.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Tom.
No, it's just that he's very comfortable with Armstrong, but they have a little bit have to force feed the has stuff. And I speculated on radio pregame the other day that the hot stuff that they use, will that be backs? Will that be like has chipping a little bit, and then you dump it to him because a rusher's coming at Taylor? That's got to play into some of their thinking moving forward. Yeah,
I've seen them dump it off to whether it's Hill or Braylon Russell out of the backfield. Now, I've wondered the same thing. Will that go to the tight ends? You mentioned Isaiah Satane's catch there. Your colleague Matt Jones calls Fayetteville High School games, and I watched him a little bit, not a ton, but I saw ball skills, even for a kid that's 6 feet, and we saw it in Auburn. I know he's not the tallest guy. I know he doesn't exactly just scream NFL wide receiver from a height standpoint, but the kid makes plays. And what I don't understand why there hasn't been more of a concentration to necessarily get him in deep route situations. Did that maybe cause a spark last week, Tom, knowing that even he's not the biggest guy, he can go up and out-jump defenders and make plays at times?
Well, it could. I mean, he certainly's got the speed, and you remember last year the frustration that we would see Satone catching stuff, tunnel screens, and all this in practice, and it didn't translate to the game to the point that I asked Sam Pittman about that late in the year, and he voiced his frustration. Well, now, I mean, he's certainly not receiver 1A because that's Andrew Armstrong, but looks like he's emerging as a potential second target, and I would consider Has and Broden, the next two, but it's all about being open and available, and the trust factor with Taylor Green. And if they can get their protection issues settled down a little bit, I think we're going to see more consistency with his connections to all those guys.
Tom, last thing before we let you go, appreciate your time as always. I know you've said things positive about Rashad Dominion. I've said things, hasn't necessarily panned out through 4 games of the 2024 season like we thought it would. He's been suspended for a violation of team rules. Your thoughts on Arkansas's running back moving forward and maybe what his projection could be in the next few games?
Yeah, he's my guy. I did our Hogs feature on him. He's a Georgia kid, and I just remember this quote from his coach when I wrote it, which was, he always makes the first man miss. When he got in action as a true freshman and, in that huge backfield core they had, he would do positive things. I mean, you think about the Kansas Bowl game, he had a big game.
Mm-hmm.
So we know he's capable of doing it. But he did have a little bit of a sore knee in camp, and I think that allowed Rodney Hill to get past him, and maybe Braylon Russell, is now. I know he was at the game the other day, and he's probably feeling some frustration. I have no idea what happened to lead to the indefinite suspension. I hate it for the kid because I think Rashad is a good kid. And I'm the one who asked him, in last year and in spring, why did you stay when, all his teammates were transferring? It's not about the money. It's what I feel for Arkansas. So you just kind of hate it that this is where they are right now, and I'm not sure where he'll fit in. Those other three I just mentioned are ahead of him now, so there's just probably some frustration on his point.
Tom, we'll leave it there. We can talk more Texas A&M. I know that Travis Williams probably having a game planned for both quarterbacks this week with Marcel Reed and why am I blanking on? And Connor Wigman as well, and we'll chat more about that on Thursday.
All right, sounds good. See you then.
All right, that's our buddy Tom Murphy. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.